Alabama, Indiana week. It's Rose Bowl week, LT. And let's just get everybody up to date, just in case you've got holiday mush brain. Alabama is not the number one team in the country. That's Indiana. Alabama's not the favorite. That's Indiana. And that line really isn't moving.
No, that line is pretty much standing pat right now. And, I thought this number would dive down a little bit, but it just hasn't. And I think odds makers believe, we talk about brand all the time. And the brand definitely favors Alabama, but Indiana is still a 7-point favorite, total of 47.5. So they're expecting Indiana to win a low-scoring game.
Oh, Indiana, low-scoring game, like we saw them play in the Big Ten championship game against Ohio State. If this game plays out like that, that's sort of what everyone's expecting.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people are expecting right now. And, I continue to talk to people all the time, holiday parties, in and out of town, and it's kind of the same narrative. Like, who have they really beaten? And I'm like, have you not? Like, you could say this about Indiana last year because they'd never been on this stage. But going to Autzen, beating Ohio State, and when I bring up Ohio State, well, it was their Super Bowl. Well, Ohio State was playing for the number one seed in the conference championship, too. Like, nobody wants to give him credit. He won a Heisman Trophy. Well, he did it against Big Ten defenses. Well, the Big Ten's won back-to-back national championships. If it was Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, USC, anybody else, it would have a different feel for this, but a lot of people just believe because it's Indiana and a bunch of 3-stars, Alabama will be able to, line up and out-athlete them, and that's not going to be the case.
No respect, Brownie, out there on the West Coast for Indiana.
Yeah, I'm like Lance, and I don't know if you've had the same experience, Dunaway, but every Alabama fan I run into feels confident about this game, which is so weird because the confidence level of Alabama fans was not very high going into the Oklahoma game, I don't think. But, I mean, talking over the Christmas break to Alabama fans, they are very confident in this game. And I know we got plenty of time to talk about this, but this is part of their confidence is they've been here before and all those things. But then they start talking about, hey, by the way, if you can win this one, now Oregon and Texas Tech have to come to Atlanta. That'll be an Alabama home game. They've started I think a lot of Alabama fans have started thinking about Miami now, playing in Miami. So I think this is a pretty confident fan base going into this game.
Brownie's out there with our Rose Bowl coverage. LT will be out there travel day tomorrow. He'll be there Wednesday, anchoring our coverage all week long. The show being brought to you today as we jump into what Alabama's saying is, by the way, Brown, you beat Alabama to town by about 24 hours. They don't leave here until this afternoon. So way to beat them on the ground out to Pasadena. They travel today.
I feel it.
We'll hear from them as they practiced again over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and did a lot of media availability coming up. Okay, in the chat room, Brown, everybody wants to know if you've been out for breakfast yet this morning at 7:06.
Yes. So you're in California delicacy.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, they've only been in California like 10 years. Wow. Can't get the South out of you.
There's one less than. One less than a mile away?
Well, I told you In-N-Out's like a mile from that place too. Have you been to In-N-Out yet?
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm on the rooftop here. I can't see it. I can't lay eyes on it, but I think it's right over here. I don't want to go directions again, but I think it's to my east, towards the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, it is between you and a slum road, which I'm sure you've seen.
It's California, man.
Yeah.
You could be in the nicest neighborhood and a slum road in one block.
The crazy thing is, I said this, I lived out there for 8 months. It rained one day in the 8 months. When we were out there 6 weeks ago, it was in the mid-50s. It was pouring rain. I got dropped off at the LA Coliseum, and sitting out there for USC Iowa, I was like, I will never sit in a game like this again. Well, and the Rose Bowl is going to be the exact same conditions.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the one reason we're on the rooftop today, guys, is this is probably our only shot at it. From this location. So we're probably going to have to be indoors for the rest of the shows this week because they are predicting rain really starting Wednesday. Tomorrow's kind of iffy, but starting Wednesday into Thursday, it should affect the game. I don't know how much. They're saying as much as an inch that will rain during the game, which is very, very rare for a Rose Bowl, as you well know. So I think elements are going to be a big issue in this game. And they've had a ton of rain out here. Like, I was when I was coming from the airport to where we're staying here, I was going to try to just drive down the Pacific, the PCH, right, Pacific Coast Highway, and there are parts of it that are still closed because of mudslides. So it is a it's a legitimate, issue out here. Obviously, they are just not used to this kind of rain, but it could affect the game as well.
A lot of Alabama fans traveling out there. Not as many as Indiana fans. They should have the advantage in the stadium. Let's talk about the game on the field. Kane Womack, the defensive coordinator, it is still the Rose Bowl. I know it's part of the playoffs. It's the second playoff game for Alabama. But this is the Rose Bowl game. 100 years since Alabama won their first Rose Bowl. They get a chance to try to win it again 100 years later. They've won some since then, of course. But Kane Womack, he's coaching in the Rose Bowl.
This would be a bucket list opportunity for me. I mean, I've been in between my dad's career, my playing career, coaching career. I've been a part of the Orange Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Cotton Bowl, Peach. I mean, I think this will be my 26th bowl game that I've been a part of, but I've never been a part of the Rose Bowl. So this is an awesome opportunity, one that I will take a moment at some point to appreciate, enjoy, and then I'll lock right back into the work and the task at hand. I would imagine Rose Bowls are much more memorable when you win the game. So we'll make sure that we do that. But it's awesome. I mean, our sport is built upon moments and bowl games like the Rose Bowl. And so this one is the granddaddy of them all for a reason, and we're excited to be a part of it.
Now, for most of my life, I never thought Alabama would ever play in an actual Rose Bowl game because they were locked out of it because the SEC didn't go to Rose Bowls.
Yeah, Big Ten, Pac-12, Pac-8, Pac-10, Pac-12.
But now it's coming along pretty regularly that Alabama's playing in an actual Rose Bowl game. It's pretty cool.
Well, it's the 9th one they've played in, but 6 were before 1947, and I'm with you. I never thought we would see it, and then 2009, we were out there for Texas and Alabama, and then we were back out there 2 years ago to see Nick Saban's final game against Michigan. It is rare, though, and that's one of the things, like a lot of Alabama fans aren't going again, and they are holding out for maybe Miami if they're to get on a heater here. But all of the Alabama fans are like, damn, I do wish I could go to a Rose Bowl. It is a bucket list, as Kane Womack said right there. It is definitely a thing. I was doing my pros and cons about going out this week, because I thought about hanging back with you, and one of the pros, the biggest con was weather, but one of the biggest pros was like, will I ever go to another Rose Bowl? This might be it. And by the way, these tickets, as passionate as Indiana fans might be, will be $100 each, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I've already looked because I had a friend that was looking for tickets, and I tell people this all the time, and both of you guys know this. When Alabama and Auburn play in this game, both or any of the games that Alabama and Auburn have played, by game time, it's a face value or less ticket for pretty good seats, actually, not even get-ins. And I tell people that all the time. I'm like, if you can stomach the money to get out here, tickets aren't going to be a problem. And Lance, to your point, I looked ahead, and you're right. That is going to be a cheap ticket, even with Indiana. And listen, this is just something that is another issue I think the college football playoff has to address is, if I'm an Indiana fan, I'm looking at wherever their next stop is. I can't. Well, I guess it'd be Atlanta. Obviously.
Yeah, it's Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta. Yeah, that's the way that works, Ryan. Atlanta and Miami, and I'm like, I got to make some choices here, some tough choices. So it is going to be a cheap ticket if you can stomach the cost of getting out here. It will not be trouble getting in that stadium, especially if there's going to be an inch of rain on Thursday.
Yeah, and I think we all agree. I mean, I don't know what the forecast would be in Bloomington based on the 40-degree drop we've had in the local area overnight. It's probably pretty cold up there, but these games should be on campus in the second round.
Yeah, eventually we'll get there, but the Rose Bowl is still a big deal. You heard Kane Womack talk about it for all the trashing of the stadium and all of that. When it turns up 3 o'clock Central Time on January 1st and the Rose Bowl is on, it means something to college football fans and coaches and players, and Alabama and Indiana get a chance to do that coming up later this week. Brown's anchoring our coverage out there. LT will be there a little bit later on. I didn't know you were waffling at one point. The forecast was the reason why?
Well, I mean, look, in Southern California when it rains, and I think I told you guys when I was on with you, it is almost like Alabama when it snows. They are not used to the rain. Everybody's in a panic mode. Nobody can drive out there. The traffic is
Brown's
horrendous.
got a rental. He'll be driving, and God knows he never tailgates.
Yeah, never at all. I was waffling, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I'm shocked you're not going.
You're back on for the. You're on for the record, though, right? You're back on for the record.
Yeah, unless Dunaway wants to tap.
Okay.
Unless we want to tap out tag team.
This has been This has been the most comfortable decision I've ever made. I've never felt. I doubt restaurant orders for dinner more than I have this decision, by the way.
Well, that is shocking because you are the ultimate media guy.
Oh, I'm going to Tuscaloosa for Yale, Alabama tonight. So I mean,
So what kept you away from this?
I don't know. I just don't want to. I don't know. I'll be. Hopefully they'll win, and I'll keep going. I just look forward to. I don't know. I've missed so many playoff games. I'm getting Friday night and then triple header on January 1st. We talk about things that you may not have many of. I mean, I've only got so many more January 1st, those big bowl games. I get to see all 3 of them this year.
I'm going to get to see most of them.
Did you get a bad diagnosis? Did you get a tough diagnosis?
No,
We don't know
I mean, I'm getting older, man. I only played 85 rounds of golf this year.
I am absolutely shocked you're not going, but trust me, I will be there, probably man on the street stuff early. And then at halftime will be the latest. And, Brown, you will take your own car because I remember we had to circle back and get you guys last time, and it was absolute pain in the ass. But this time I will be in and out of there and on a sports bar stool somewhere. Watch it.
Best coverage in the country right here. I will tell you, we look forward to traveling with Alabama every year. Now back to the game on the field now. I was just talking to Bo before the show started that Indiana's defense is a lot like Oklahoma's defense. In fact, Oklahoma is number 1. Indiana is number 2 in the country in tackles for losses. 112 tackles for losses is what Indiana has come up with this year. Here's Ryan Grubb on the challenge of Indiana's defense.
Really disciplined defense. They play very disciplined. They're exactly where they're supposed to be. They execute their system at a really, really high level. They tackle really well. And I think one thing I see that we've been challenging our guys on, they defeat blocks. And I wish I could tell you something way more sexy than that, but it's like they're really good at the little stuff, and that's what you see, in good defenses is teams that defeat blocks, run to the football, tackle well, force turnovers. They do all the little things really, really well. And that's what, we got to be ready for. Because you'll see plenty of plays on film where it's like this play is developing, it's got a shot, it looks like it's going to be well executed, and then they just simply defeat the block. And they win at the point of attack. And so, just a good smash mouth team that you can tell are very well coached.
Defeat the blocks, man. And there are times where Alabama in certain positions have struggled to block people up, and they finally got it cooking against Oklahoma and did a good job against their edges. This Indiana team reminds a lot of people of that Oklahoma team when it comes to tackling for losses.
Yeah, I think this Indiana defense is probably a little bit better. I know SEC fans don't want to hear that, but when you look at what they did in the regular season, like – they gave up 24 to Penn State, the most they gave up all year, but they only gave up 20 in Autzen. They only gave up 10 to Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. This defense has been dominant. It's the second overall scoring defense right now in college football. They have been lights out against the run. I don't think that's going to matter at all. But if Alabama went 75+, it would be a huge day for Alabama on the ground.
Yeah, Brandy, that's what it goes back to. Everyone's talking about being one dimension as you see Indiana working out, getting ready for Alabama in their practice up here. They're balanced offensively and defensively, but Alabama, once again, being one dimension with the lack of run game seems to really favor Indiana.
Yeah, here's what I would say, though, to counter that is that I would say worst case, this is the third best quarterback they faced. Because if you look at the quarterbacks they've had to face, Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, Indiana State, Illinois, Iowa, Oregon, Dante Moore, that was a road game, obviously. They held him to 186 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. That was a terrific defensive performance by them. Michigan State, UCLA, Maryland, Penn State, Wisconsin, Purdue, and then Ohio State, Julian Sayin, 264, a touchdown, and a pick in that game. There's no doubt Ty Simpson's the third best quarterback they've faced. If he's worse than Dante Moore, which you can make an argument, I don't think people would argue that he's better than Julian Sayin. I understand that. But I mean, this may be the second best quarterback that they have faced, or the second best passing attack that they faced this year.
We'll break down the quarterbacks and the gap between Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza and Ty Simpson. Notice I'm just saying gap. Some of you may say Ty's better than Fernando. I don't know. I'm letting that be up to you. But is there a gap, and what is that gap? We'll talk about
Somebody
that.
said that?
No, I'm just saying.
Okay,
I'm just saying if you believe Ty Simpson's the better quarterback, you can.
You're an Alabama fan.
Yeah. You might be an Alabama fan. Ty Simpson versus Fernando Mendoza. I don't really like the way Brownie, when we say it like that, because those two players are never on the field at the same time, quarterback versus quarterback, right? We talked about that for years and years. It's not really Ty Simpson versus Fernando Mendoza, right?
No, the comparison is, but, it's Ty Simpson versus Indiana's pass defense, which is good, and Fernando Mendoza versus Alabama's pass defense, which is really good.
Yeah. Here's Ty Simpson on facing the number one team in the country. Does that add any extra pressure to his job as the Alabama quarterback?
Indiana's undefeated, playing in the biggest game in school history. Does that add pressure for you, or does it make it more like, I'm ready to seize the moment?
Yeah, I think if anything, it's more exciting. Indiana is a really, really, really good team. Like, I'm very impressed with what they're doing on film, what they've done throughout the season. Their defense, how disciplined they are and what they do. And it just honestly makes, the stakes bigger, right? Like, number one team in the country, 13-0 Big Ten champions, got the Heisman Trophy winner, got one of the best third down defenses in the country. So, being able to go out there and play and perform and be a competitor is all you can ask for. So, the team's super excited, and the guys are, just ecstatic to be there.
Listen, I know Brown's on the ground out in Pasadena. I want him to undersell. He made it sound like it was Indiana, good defense, good secondary, and Alabama's great. That Indiana corner situation, their two corners there are all Big Ten corners, and that includes, the Ohio State DBs, the Oregon DBs, the Michigan DBs. Those two, I think it's Pons and Moore.
D'Angelo Pons is the guy that was on Jeremiah Smith in the Big Ten championship game. He's an all first 10 Big Ten guy, and he is legitimate. He's a legitimate NFL talent. They've got him all over the field. I mean, that's the crazy thing is you got three guys up front now. One of the guys, Stephen Daly's out. He got hurt in the Big Ten championship game. But they've got a guy with 8 sacks. They've got a guy with 5.5 sacks. You've got an all-world linebacker in Aiden Fisher. I mean, you've just got players all over the field. And back to Mendoza versus Simpson, Mendoza leads the FBS with 33 touchdowns, obviously won the Heisman Trophy. He doesn't have to win this game for Indiana, though. Indiana with Roman Hemby, Kalon Black running the football, both 800-plus yard backs. Like, Alabama has 0 legit backs. They have got 2 very legit backs, so they can run the football, play great defense, and still win this game.
Brown, back
okay, let me
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to clean that up real quick. Both of them are really, really good. Alabama 10th in the nation in pass defense. Indiana 18th. Indiana's stat that's remarkable. Alabama's 13-11 touchdown to interception. On defense, on their pass defense, Indiana's 7-17, 7 touchdown receptions they've given up versus 17 interceptions. So yes, I was unfair to Indiana's pass defense unintentionally. I didn't mean to do it that way. But I would say this when you talk about those corners, if I'm Indiana and Fernando Mendoza, I do not look to Zabian Brown's side very often. I don't know about you guys, but I would quit throwing to that side of the field. That guy is a ball hawk, and he knows how to get them back to the end zone.
Here's my question for you. If Pons is so good for both of you, but I'll start with you, Brown. If Pons is so good and he takes Jeremiah Smith out of the game for Ohio State, obviously it was easy to say, okay, Jeremiah Smith is somebody we want to take away. Who do you put Pons on the Alabama for Alabama? You go first, Brownie. Who do you put Pons on? Do you put him on Ryan Williams? Do you put him on Germ, who's injured? Who do you put him on?
Well, I mean, Alabama can dictate some of that by alignment, right? I mean,
yeah, of course.
Last Friday night, you would have wanted him on Latzir Brooks, but Brooks was able, because he was in the slot, to be paired up against a safety a lot, and he ate him alive. I mean, it's a great question, Jim. I mean, if I'm able to, if I'm Kurt Cignetti and I can just say, okay, Pons gets this guy every play, I'm going to go Jeremy Bernard. That's still who worries me more than Ryan Williams. I don't know. It's a great question. I think if you're an Alabama fan, and this is going to sound crazy, I think you hope he's on Ryan Williams every play, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to get to. Is you want Ryan Williams to still be good enough to be a decoy to pull Pons off of somebody else?
Well, and real quick, I mean, Pons did give up some yards to Jeremiah Smith. He went 8 for 144, but he kept him out of the end zone. He still had 9 tackles in that Big Ten championship game. I think the good news for Indiana is Alabama doesn't have a dominant wide receiver right now. Like, I think they can kind of wait and figure out who's kind of got the hot hand, and then maybe you can, gravitate, Pons over to that side, or, stick him on whoever that guy is, whether if it is Ryan Williams or if it is Germ. Something seems to be not only up with Ryan Williams, something seems to be up with Germ physically.
Yeah, well, he's battling an injury. I don't know how much of that's out there. He's fighting through it like a lot of people are this time of year, and we'll see how. I mean, he made some big plays in that Oklahoma game, so he's getting some. He and Cuevas both did yeoman's work there with those injuries in Oklahoma. They'll need to do it again against Indiana, Brownie.
Yeah, they will. The one play we didn't get the last time we did a show together a week ago, because there was so much to talk about in that Oklahoma game. But to your point, Lance, about Jeremy Bernard, who is so dependable for Alabama, there was that play where he was behind the secondary, and granted the pass was a little bit short. If Ty Simpson's able to put air under it, is a walk-in touchdown for Jeremy Bernard. But he kind of has to go to the ground to catch it, and it just goes right through his hands. And immediately everybody's reaction was, is it the weird lights that he had talked about because of where he was on the field? But that is uncharacteristic of Jeremy Bernard. Now, with that said, he came back and made a spectacular Tyrone Prothro-like catch later in the game. So he's still got it in him. But, yeah, he's not 100% for sure.
Yeah, and by the way, I didn't know this, but apparently when you get mossed, and Randy Moss uses that, he sends you a pair of mossed gloves.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, and they showed that on social media. Though, he sent a pair to Germ, and it says mossed or got mossed or whatever on the gloves there. It was such a great play, and that went over Oklahoma. More on Ty Simpson and Fernando Mendoza, because there's some numbers floating around. I have not fact-checked these. I just want to throw them out there. The numbers for Fernando Mendoza and Brown at some point, or Brooks, somebody check me on these, but it's floating around on social media. You have checked them out? 4 touchdowns,
these are accurate.
4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 670 passing yards against teams who are currently ranked that they played this year. Their schedule was less than. But as LT keeps pointing out, the win at Oregon and the win over Ohio State are huge, as good as any in the country, because those are 2 playoff teams.
And I think the win at Iowa, when you start to really look at Iowa, their schedule, and their 4 losses, all to top 25 teams, to be able to go into Kinnick and to win that game, and really, outside of the Mendoza safety he took at the end, they had him at arm's length the whole time. But that was another impressive win to me.
Brownie, you check those numbers out. What do you make of them?
So, I mean, the games people are talking about at Iowa on the road, good defense there at Iowa, 13 of 23, 233, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Not terrible numbers on the road, by the way. Those are pretty good numbers in a road game. At Oregon on the road, 20 of 31, 215, a touchdown and a pick. Against Ohio State, 15 of 23, 222, a touchdown and a pick. Those aren't bad numbers, but what I think a lot of people are pointing out is Kennesaw State, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Indiana State, 5 touchdowns, no picks. Illinois, which in the start of the season, Illinois was a better team.
Yeah.
5 touchdowns, no picks. Michigan State, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Wisconsin, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Purdue, 2 touchdowns, no picks. UCLA, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Lance, I think a lot of people are saying he ran some of his numbers up against the bottom of the Big Ten and some of those bad out-of-conference teams that Indiana has played, and they don't apologize for playing them. Kirk Cignetti's like, this is the way we're going to do our schedule, but he ran some of his numbers up. I don't know if it's an entirely fair criticism of Mendoza, but the numbers are what they are.
Yeah, the numbers are what they are. Look, and so much different from home and away, and I don't think Bloomington's probably an intimidating place to play. But if you look at them at home, they were 7-0, and they won by an average of 41 points per game. On the road, neutral site, 6-0, and they won by an average of 19 points per game. So they were really dominant everywhere, but especially in Bloomington.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if Indiana, with a longer time off and the pressure of being number 1, it didn't work well for Oregon in the same building last year, Brownie.
No, and we talk a lot about trends in the college football playoff. They had the seeding screwed up last year. So when you talk about these bye teams that didn't perform well last year, you do have to consider that the seeding was screwed up. But one place the seeding was not screwed up was for Oregon. They were the overall number 1, and they would have been the number 1 if the seeding had been correct. And they were obviously out of sync when this game started last year. Ohio State was clicking on all cylinders. They had found their game against Tennessee. Listen, this is everything I'm saying. This is what Alabama fans hope is happening for Alabama, right? That Alabama is going to play at Oklahoma. The last 3 quarters of this game, I can't tell you how many Alabama fans have told me the last 3 quarters of that game, that's the best Alabama has looked since, the Georgia game or whatever in Athens. So Alabama fans are hoping that Alabama, starting in the second quarter in Norman, unlocks something that they had earlier this year, the way Ohio State did it against Tennessee last year. And then when Ohio State got right out here to the Rose Bowl, right over there to the Rose Bowl, they were clicking on all cylinders, and there is no doubt that Oregon came out early flat in that game, and they dug such a deep hole that they had no shot in that game.
Yeah, I would tell you, Brownie, here's Ryan Grubb talking about Ty Simpson's letting it rip mentality. When his back got against the wall, he had to sort of let it fly just to keep Alabama's season alive.
I think that there was a mindset going into the game that was embedded in Ty, and I think that it was one that you saw in the Georgia game earlier in the year and things like that, where there was a little bit of the just let it rip mentality, not worrying so much about, what's going on around him or, how this could affect anything else other than just playing, and obviously for a 22-year-old young man, that's a lot of pressure. And, I think he did a good job of just stay in love with the process, be in the game plan, be ready for the game, and let it keep building and adjust as you go in the game and get ready to make the play. And I just think he was in that moment. He was in the zone as far as just staying locked into the game. And I really felt like he knew that we were going to make a play, and that, we got a couple man coverage looks that we had been wanting, that we won on, and was, Lottie got it all sparked when he hit that third down on a man opportunity. And I just felt like Ty was going to be ready for that moment. That's how I felt talking to him on the headset, was just that if we got that moment, he was going to make the throw and we were going to make the catch. And, we did, and we kept capitalizing on those moments.
39 sacks, though, for this Indiana defense, but they've got a big injury, LT. Stephen Daly, they lost in the Big Ten championship game, and after that, 19 tackles for a loss. He's part of that sack machine. He was replacing Kellen Wyatt, who was a big stud at that position as well. They still got playmakers off the edge and then the pass rush up the middle on the defensive tackle side, but that could be a major factor. While Alabama's getting LT Overton back, it looks like, back at practice, there's the big Stephen Daly who's out for Indiana, it looks like.
Yeah, one of those guys I mentioned that's got 5.5 sacks for the Hoosiers. Let me say this about Ty Simpson real quick. If he plays like he played final 3 quarters on the road in Norman, plays like he did the first half on the road Athens against Georgia, those are more hostile environments than he'll see in the Rose Bowl. And I think, the Georgia defense and the Oklahoma defense they're comparable to what you've got with the Indiana's defense. Ty can get on a heater, and Ty Simpson could single-handedly win this game for Alabama. So I don't want to – I know as soon as people are like, you think Mendoza's so much better, I do think he's the better quarterback. But Alabama's path to victory is Ty Simpson. I don't know about you guys, but it's going to be a lot of defense, and it's going to be Ty Simpson making big-time plays on a big-time setting for Alabama to have any opportunity to win this game.
You agree, Brownie?
Yeah, I do. It's kind of funny, too. This is such a departure for Alabama. Ty Simpson has been talking about this. I don't know the exact phrasing they are using in their locker room, but basically, F the world. It's us against the world. Yeah, it's such a change for Alabama, who has been the giant in college football for 20 years now. And all of a sudden, they're like, everybody in the world's doubting us. Let's go prove them wrong. But I feel like he plays with a chip on his shoulder, Jim. You were in Norman. I think you saw it firsthand. It was clear on TV that he's got a chip on his shoulder right now, that he feels like everybody is doubting Alabama. They don't think they can, they don't run the ball well enough to win. Ty Simpson hadn't played well enough for them to win, and he's playing chip on his shoulder football. I know it's a cliche, but it's the way he's playing, and I think that's the Ty Simpson you want. I think you want the Ty Simpson that has a chip on his shoulder and wants to prove the doubters wrong.
Somewhere between confident and cocky is where you want your quarterback, and that's where Ty Simpson is.